Hello and welcome to Rural Marketing, and you're watching Simplifying Rural Marketing by Ajay. Friends, India with 957 million telecom users, where each month about 8 to 10 million users are getting connected for the first time through their mobiles, creating a huge potential for the marketers. To discuss on rural digital India, we have with us Anirban Chaudhuri, who's an associate professor at Great Lake Institute of Management. Friends, he started his career from publication to research, then consultancy, joined leading advertising agencies on a strategic role, and now he's a professor who has truly followed Maslow's laws of hierarchy, and he's now gone into a self-realization or self-actualization stage. So welcome Anirban Chaudhuri to Rural Marketing.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for your time and your interest to log in for this session. I think this is a very interesting initiative during the lockdown to jam around things that interest all of us. So it's of mutual interest, and I'm happy to be a part of this.
Thank you. So, Anirban, how is the acceptability of the digital in rural India?
Okay, so I think as you have set up this topic, ये
Yes.
truth है या myth है, right?
Yes.
So I think I'd like to say ये truth भी है और myth भी है, right? Now, if you look at the numbers, right? जो number जो आंकड़े हमारे पास दिया जाता है, different agency share करते रहते हैं, right? Which gives us a very, very optimistic feeling, right? मतलब if we were trying to look at the data, maybe as a country we are somewhere almost trying to move towards a situation where everyone is aspiring for a phone, and maybe the usage is a large number of them, right? Maybe 700 million using it, right? Or at least claiming to use it, right? Now, and it's very interesting that how people are using it for everything that one can think of. But at the same time, let me share a story, right? So last year sometime, I was there in a place called Hardoi, right? It's a little far from Lucknow. ठीक है? वहाँ जो block level पे कुछ गांव है, वहाँ पर there's a tech foundation that is doing some good work, and I was there to observe some of the outcomes and try and understand how things were been carried out, what can be done about it, and things like that. So उसमें we interacted with some CIG, right, common interest group. So शायद बहुत लोगों को जानकारी होगा इसके बारे में कि सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप बनने से पहले का जो लेवल है वो कॉमन इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप है, मतलब तब तक वो संगठित पूरे हुए नहीं. They are trying to work together, if I may try to put that in. Now, interestingly, across multiple such CIG, when we are speaking, and ये जो महिलाएं हैं वो उनका जो भी ऑफ टाइम है, जो भी वो टाइम निकल पाते हैं, they actually use it to do some work. तो वहाँ बुनाई के काम है. There are multiple activities that's been there. But beyond the person who is probably the leader of the pack, and maybe one more person in certain cases, none of them have been having a phone. Forget internet. Now that's also a reality that we cannot deny. So when we try to talk about rural and especially rural digital, there are places where there is a digital divide. ये digital divide बोल के जो एक concept है digital marketing and digital infrastructure का context में, that remains. And ये divide is there at multiple layers and levels. तो infrastructure होगा, device नहीं होगा किसी लोगों के पास, device होगा पर उसको कैसे हम use करें वो जानकारी नहीं होगा. So there are dimensions. We cannot have one let me say general view of rural digital in India in the current context, right? So that would be my view of acceptance का जो बात है.
So what are the generally current behaviors? I mean, the rural people, what is their behaviors? And generally for a marketer, what are the bottlenecks that's challenging the digital ecosystem?
Hmm. So let me try and give you the perspective that अगर
Hmm.
हम ये accept करते हैं कि there is diversity in their digital behavior, so I'll give
Hmm.
you some perspectives of those who are pro or proactively on it, and
Hmm.
then I'll also give you some perspective in terms of कि जो नहीं है क्यों नहीं है उनका behavioral issues or challenges क्या है, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
let me start with again another story, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so very close to our campus in some of the village blocks that we have. So we were doing some live project with students, and there's
Hmm.
something that very interesting came up. Now the village that I'm talking of is maybe about 40 kilometers from Gurgaon, right? So at least on the highway you might be tempted to call it R urban, right? Or
Yes.
urban, whatever you call it.
Rural. Yes.
Uh, now the point is, we found a very interesting, household, and when we were speaking to the man of the house,
Hmm.
उसने हमें बताया कि देखिए मेरा बीबी ने अभी एक लेडीज पार्लर चालू किया. So we
Hmm.
were trying to understand in terms of that, what people do in such scenarios, what changes have come in and stuff like that. And जब हम
Hmm.
उनसे बात कर रहे थे कि घर के जो महिलाएं हैं, उनका क्या चेंज आया हुआ है. She
Hmm.
said, but interesting बात ये है, उसने कभी कहीं ट्रेनिंग नहीं लेने गई, right? So she
Hmm.
never took any training anywhere. So she
Hmm.
has put her entire, let me say, business
Hmm.
on the, understanding that she gains out of YouTube. Now,
Hmm.
there is a general consensus, and I'm sure data also tells us that there is a huge amount of entertainment need, and there is a huge amount of let me say engagement that people do on digital today in a
Hmm.
rural context probably, जो कि ज़्यादा तौर पे entertaining content का होता है. But here is a very live case where probably one is trying to create a livelihood option, or probably taking one's interest and trying to build a business out of it. So the motivation to get in
Hmm.
on digital is more than just entertainment over here, right? तो
Hmm.
इस तरह का behavior है. बट जो नहीं गए हैं अभी, या दोज हु आर स्टिल फीलिंग कि हम क्या करें इसको लेके,
Hmm.
इज बेसिकली लैक ऑफ फैमिलियराइजेशन. And
Hmm.
especially if you look at the older generation, and when I say older, I'm not talking about the gray beard guys. I'm talking about even those probably who are there in their 30s are
Hmm.
gradually getting introduced to the digital world, compared to those probably who they are in the school. सो
Hmm.
वन व्यू दैट मेनी हैव कि स्कूल के जो बच्चे हैं, गांव के स्कूल में भी जो है, उनका
Hmm.
जो फैसिलिटी है, दैट विल हेल्प एडॉप्शन ऑफ डिजिटल मच बेटर. But I
Hmm.
have another view on that as well. While it will help one to go onto the platform, but मान लीजिए आप, let's talk about something which a lot of people talk today. Most of the brands are trying to see how they can bring people onto it, is retailing on digital platforms, and उसके साथ साथ digital payments. They are
Hmm.
very closely connected, right? अगर
Hmm.
आप उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट देखें तो आई एम नॉट श्योर इन द करंट सोशियो कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, गांव के कौन बापूजी अपने बच्चे को दे देगा कि ठीक है बैंक से पैसा आने जाने निकालने का काम तू ही कर ले, right? So
Hmm.
there are sensitivities there even if you are trying to use them. So in a way one need to sensitize and make this middle-aged guy understand the platform as well. So the kind of advocacy programs I think is one very important area for brands that are trying to look into it. ये बना बनाया मार्केट नहीं मिलेगा, किसी को बनाना है पहले. That is what is the important thing.
So, Anirban, I'm also very excited to share one of the case study. Not a case study. My last travel, I just went for a trekking recently,
Mm-hmm.
and while I was at the top of this was in Himachal. Now, we reached at a point where we saw cluster of people sitting. मतलब एक जगह के ऊपर हम लोग we were busy taking photographs and all those things, and immediately it struck to me that why are people sitting over there. So there was a closed group of over 40-50 people, and surprisingly everybody was busy using their mobile phones. So I checked up with one of the lady. I asked her, what is it, what are you doing? So she said, this area is called as a mobile point. Okay? And we get signals 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. So what happens is the men generally come in the morning hours and the women's they come in the evening hours. And they just look at their mobile. So मैंने उनसे पूछा कि आप लोग देखते क्या हैं? So he said, first thing what we look at is our WhatsApp. After WhatsApp, we spend a little bit of time on the Facebook, and then we look at YouTube. So I said, okay, then I was curious since I've been talking about marketing altogether. So I asked, what is the time which is being spent? So interestingly, this lady had to tell me that WhatsApp would be close to about 10 minutes. Then they would spend another about 20 minutes on the Facebook. If they have to share their photographs, anything, whatever they wish to, they'll do it next 20 minutes. And they'll spend almost about an hour on YouTube. And I said, what are you looking at? So they all are looking at their regional content. All right. Besides that, anything that is helping their society, helping their something to learn from that. So I was just thinking aloud, ki, I mean, the content, if there is a content that we are talking technology, I think it needs to be very, very specific to that particular region. All right. So that's how it is. So I just thought, let me share with you. And are there any other bottlenecks besides this?
So I think one is a bottleneck. Now, bottleneck from there are bottlenecks from both ends, right? Bottlenecks from the user's point of view, which we were trying to talk about in the context of familiarization with it, right? The other bottleneck probably is very important for the marketer to understand is the marketer's perception of what she is using it for, right? And how he or she, let me use both the genders, right? Because there will be a difference between, like you said, that probably in that particular point on in the hills, unka time alag hai dekhne ka. Their probably usage behavior could be very different, right? So how does a marketer understand that point of view, understand that perspective, right? In fact, आप regional content का बात किए तो for Rajasthan and Haryana, there is a regional content which has got a huge following in terms of YouTube, right? It's called Murari Ka Cocktail, right? Murari Ka Cocktail, Murari Ka Cocktail, right? And Murari Ka Cocktail would have if I am not mistaken, more than 1.5 million subscribers to his channel. He runs 2-3 other channels as well. He actually makes his entire village, participate in remakes of, Bollywood movies as well. That's the kind of content he would create, apart from certain other original content that is there, right? So, Haryanvi and Rajasthani, dialect के जो लोग हैं, उनके लिए ये बहुत popular है. But interestingly, probably he makes money from YouTube. I have not come across, अगर हुआ तो अच्छा है, any brand trying to own this, channel up and do something around that. It's a sitting duck in a way, right? So regional content is one part. TikTok, in fact, during COVID, I found a good use of, TikTok by, both the, let me say, anti-germ, soap brands, Lifebuoy and Dettol. Collectively, I think they have garnered more than 3 billion views for the hand wash moves and hand wash के around जो गाना उन्होंने बनाया थे, right? Both these brands, they did their individual things. Now the point is, if one is trying to think is that okay, I'm going to play on Insta, TikTok is not my place. One need to understand where exactly which one to work on, right? The platform and the consumer and the usage, all three, needs to be understood well, and that understanding needs to be done at a micro level. The way I just spoke to you about this Murarika channel, Murarika Cocktail, that channel. There would be multiple such in different parts of every state. How much of an effort that brands are actually putting in to identify and bring things up is what is very, very important for one to understand. Because एक साइड पे आप डिमांड फुलफिल करने के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं, जो कि आप ई कॉमर्स कर सकते हैं, या फिजिटल जो चल रहा है, O2O is the latest buzzword with the JioMart coming up there have been other models as well, like Store King has been using a model जिसमें
Working is extremely good. Yes.
in Tamil Nadu they have been extremely let me say present in many of the rural places as well. But issue ये है कि एक तरफ तो need fulfillment हो रहा है, but there is also some kind of work that one need to do, how you can use the digital medium to generate demand. So basically need or demand creation, I think that's something which is a long-term investment area for brands. So it's an observation that many of the things that we see, जो cases हमारे पास आते हैं या लोग कहते हैं या जो intent आता रहता है from different marketing practitioners कि how do I fulfill the current demand, or I can have a play in that. But I think much larger opportunity is to create demand. For example, FemPro as a category, feminine protection. Padman movie to ban gaya, but how much of a demand creation activities have been done? What kind of new content has brands actually come up with for the rural, or the urban, audience? So I think that's another area. So one need to work on, right? Probably focus a little more on that.
So, Anirban, what happens in the rural industry? People generally, what the kind of content they watch is sports, probably entertainment, or something little bit to education. So there are going to be a lot of opportunities which is available for marketers. So in your view, what are the new areas that will be coming up in coming times?
So as I was trying to say, that if one is moving into areas like demand creation, for example, health and hygiene is one big area, right? I think there is a huge need, and especially with COVID-19 being around, it's something that probably people are more receptive about as well. अगर गांव में भी होगा, उसको अभी तक इतना तो पता चला है कि कुछ हो रहा है, और जिसके लिए कुछ बदलाव लाना जरूरी है. अब वो कैसे बदलाव लाए? फॉर एग्जांपल, right now there have been a lot of discussion, debate around how this small poultries, right, जो कि livelihood projects के part हुआ करते थे, they have suffered because of the misconceptions that was there around COVID and probably non-veg eating, right? Now so there is scope for let me say disseminating information in these areas. Health and hygiene is one area. Obviously I see that growing up. What I was referring to a little while back, digital payment, right? While that's something which people are aware of now, but in terms of active use of that, that's one again area. So because the area of intervention is not about someone makes a transaction. There's a lot more that one can get. Especially व्यापारी जो है, छोटे व्यापारी जो है, उनके अगर आप मतलब पूंजी देखें और उसको अगर आप सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं, digital payment can play a big role, because you are getting a roster of the kind of transaction one is doing. You can find new parameters of credit worthiness. So there's a lot more that you can do, and that brings me to the other conceptual framework that I keep talking about in many forums as I speak about digital intervention in rural. It is basically a framework where you need to decide where you want to play. You can play at across the continuum, or you can decide enablement to empowerment. I'll try to explain my enablement and empowerment कैसे आपको अलग concept के context में बताने जा रहा हूँ. Enablement is where I'm enabling someone to do something better than what one is doing, right? So जैसे कि social networking was a way. उसके बाद आप फोन से बात करते थे लोगों पे, अभी सोशल मीडिया आ गए. सो जैसे आप कह रहे थे, वो जो टेलीफोन पॉइंट बन गया पहाड़ पे, वहां पर लोग व्हाट्सएप या फेसबुक जो भी करते हैं यूज कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. सो दैट्स एनेबलमेंट, राइट? मैं बैंक में पैसा मेरा आता था, चेक आता था, मैं जाके कहीं से लेता था, वो पंचायत ऑफिस हो कहीं भी. फ्रॉम देयर डायरेक्टली इट इज कमिंग टू माय अकाउंट. So it is a kind of enabling me to do things better than what I was doing, right? But where I see a lot of traction for businesses and brands is, obviously you do enablement, but if you can go into empowerment. And I'll give you a very interesting context for that. अभी कोविड के टाइम पे काफी जगह ये पीडीएस का बंदोबस्त किया गया है, पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम, एंड स्पेशली फॉर rural and those frontier and emerging markets. It has been very important to have this PDS been distributed pretty well, right? Now, I just came to know about a story, and let me share that story with you. It is very important to talk about another aspect of this in that context of the story. So, as I was talking about, regional content, right? So, with the regional content on digital, there are a lot of digital platforms that have come up as well. One platform probably many people are aware of is the great storyteller Nilesh Mishra running this Gaon Connection, right, in UP, right? Yes. Gaon Connection, right? So similarly in Bihar and Jharkhand and that area, there is another mobile-based platform called Mobile Vani. Gram Vani is basically there, right? And the model that they have is there are volunteers जिनके जरिए जो issues locally होते हैं उसके बारे में बातचीत होता है, and there are also performers, मतलब those who are working or they're living in that area, वो भी अपने जो भी cultural talent वगैरह है उसको पेश करते हैं. They run a program called मेरी आवाज मेरी पहचान, right? And this village which was in Madhopur Panchayat in Bihar, right, near Nalanda, apparently a group of women who were not a part of the PDS system because उनके पास ration card नहीं था. And मेरी आवाज मेरी पहचान वाली जो program है उसमें there was one of the volunteers who actually brought this point up, right? And that moved to the block development officer, and in 2 days time there was a survey done in that block and they got that PDS cards, right? And that's what I call empowerment, where one can bring in change into the context of their own lives. Women use that platform, digital platform, to get something done in 2 days. Getting a ration card in 2 days is a big achievement, right? Now, where can we play in this empowerment area is what is going to become more and more important, because that will create a lot of connect for marketers and brands in each market. And digital can be a medium where you can scale up pretty well, you can be the voice, you can actually empower people in the way. So for example, a lot of discussions are there on those e-mandis, right? Now the point is, to me, they're still operating at an enablement way, because they enable you to take your produce and probably sell it. But the empowerment would come when I can actually make the farmer decide on the price that he wants to sell. Today, probably that's not what is his free will yet, right? Which means there will be a lot of phygital, structure in place, which includes storage and stuff like that, right? But then that's the continuum. So from enablement to empowerment, and a brand needs to choose basis its objective of doing business, its reason to be there, and capabilities where one can play a role. So that would be my view, right?
Fantastic. So anyway, in case anybody has any questions, they can just pen down their questions, and I'll ask Anirban in the discussion as well. And so, Anirban, coming back, so in your current role right now, you are majorly talking about the digital aspects, where you're talking about artificial learning, you're talking about machine learning, you're talking about bots and all those things and all. So just wanted to know from your perspective, how do you think this can be applicable in the rural industry, and how can people use this, whether it is the big data or whether in other scenarios, how it can be effectively utilized?
In fact, as we started discussing in this context of health and hygiene, right? I think a lot, health alert system is a big area. For example, a lot of the seasonal or cyclic challenges that we have in terms of health, or onset of certain health issues, there are data available, right? And there are experiments done in certain cases. Even brands have tried to create a predictive modeling in terms of trying to create what is the chances of a particular geography getting affected given certain let me say expression of parameters at a particular point of time. So I think that's one big area that's been there. The other big thing is that engaging on a platform, right, is something which is a way where heuristic learning can be put into play, right? So while currently, as we keep saying, that TikTok has been only or predominantly used for content, right? But then based on my content behavior, I can identify opportunities to deliver other information as well, right? Or probably have an understanding of the way, the tone and manner of my communication, if I am looking at it from a marketing communication point of view. So there is a lot that one can do. Specifically in the area of, I'll come back to digital payment as a platform, right? Your transaction behavior, again, is a great, set of data for one to identify and, figure out opportunities of financial products, right? In fact, I'll share a story. Financial products, so let me ask you a simple question. If we ask about a mutual fund, right, and we talk about mutual fund से रिलेटेड कौन सा प्रोडक्ट आपको सबसे ज्यादा अखबार या कोई भी अदर मीडियम में एडवर्टाइज करते हुए देखा आपने? सबसे ज्यादा एडवर्टाइज करते हुए कौन सी प्रोडक्ट देखा है आपने म्यूचुअल फंड का?
म्यूचुअल फंड के अंदर ऑनेस्टली आई कांट
ज्यादा तौर पे एसआईपी बोला जाता है, लोग कोई भी आप
एसआईपी एडवर्टाइज वेरी हेवीली, यस, एंड
heavily SIP, right?
Yes.
Now think of it from a perspective, and I would name the brand, but I'll share the perspective. And one of the and when we say rural, it is not always the geography, it is also the mindset, right? So the large migrant population that comes to the city, works for their village, is also rural in their thinking at times, right? And so one of the mutual fund brands were doing a interaction, and probably for good senses they started discussing it with rickshaw pullers, right? So the rickshaw pullers and the guys who have these e-rickshaw kind of stuff, right? Who are mostly migrant and stuff like that, right? And कुछ साल पहले ये कैंपेन बहुत चला था, म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, right? So there was a residual let me say अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दैट कि अच्छा ये सही है, कुछ तो है जो कि सही है, राइट? एंड जब उनसे बातचीत किया गया तो उनको फाइनली पूछा गया कि आप इन्वेस्ट करना चाहेंगे? नाउ देखिए इनका जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, बिकॉज ऑफ जनधन योजना इन सब के पास बैंक अकाउंट है. अब बैंक अकाउंट है मतलब आधार कार्ड वगैरह भी आ गया है, तो केवाईसी का जो भी जरूरत होता है आपका, वो सारे इनके पास मौजूद है, राइट? अच्छा, ये पैसे जो कमाते हैं, दे ऑल हैव अ पर्सपेक्टिव कि हम पैसा जमा करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि कोई ऑब्जेक्टिव उनका है कि गांव पे पक्का घर बना ले, या बेटी का शादी करवाना है, या बच्चा को स्कूल में डालना है, जो भी है, एक दे हैव अ वेरी क्लियर प्लान. सो देयर इज अ लाइफ गोल उनका, ठीक है? And after that session, when that particular mutual fund company wanted to collect, say if you want to invest, right, what the average check value that they had collected in that sabha, any guesses what that would be? There were about, I think 12 to 15 people who were there for that small gathering.
I believe almost everybody must have done it, no?
Almost everybody has done it, and the average amount of the check was 1 lakh.
Wow.
Right? Now think of it. The reason I'm sharing this in the context is that's where one need to understand the rural mindset in the way, right? Now this guy, if you had sold him a SIP, he can never ever do that, because he doesn't have a guarantee of income. किस महीना, किस हफ्ता, महीना छोड़ दीजिए, किस हफ्ता उसको कितना पैसा मिलेगा उसको पता नहीं है. But he has a life goal, he has a annual goal, and आज के दिन में उसको बैंक में पहले उस जिस टाइम ये हुआ था 4% मिलता था, अभी तो वो भी घट गया है, राइट?
हाँ,
अब म्यूचुअल फंड में उसमें उसको तो उससे ज्यादा मिलेगा ही. So if a mutual fund company has to be focusing into the rural context, it need to invest in terms of trying to understand what is his, financial or income cycle, and accordingly sell a product. A SIP would never work there. So whatever vernacular में भी आप कर लिए SIP का ऐड, तो उसके लिए उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है. He can do a one time investment, right? So ये जो perspective है, ये सब भी उसका context, rural customer का context जो है, this is very important, and that holds true even for a digital scenario. So
Anirban, one question quickly which is coming to my head right now is, because if you're talking about SIP, now it is being advertised heavily on TV. And it is not that the people in the rural area are not averse to watching these commercials and all.
Right.
So they're watching these commercials. You mean to say this activity which is being done, it is done on the ground as an activation, or do you think from the TV it is going to bring results?
No, so the TV has helped in creating a awareness for a product called mutual fund. तभी मैंने वो mutual fund सही है, they know, so they know, okay, this is a product that is probably good, right? So that's what I'm saying. The focus on SIP as a product is relevant for an audience that has regular income.
So, Anirban, just can you tell me some interesting case studies, something which brands have been using it? I mean, in the sense, some great case study which, along with the activations or doing advertising, they've used the digital in a very, very great manner.
See, I think there have been initiatives, and as I said that I believe that the change in the rural digital is based on how you are onboarding people on, right? Those probably who are not very familiar. That's one very important thing. And secondly, figuring out where you'd like to be in your let me say enablement to empowerment journey. So e-commerce company is actually working very closely to create entrepreneurs who can do this onboarding, right, in smaller towns. So it's not good enough to create an app, right? It's also important to make that person be familiar with it, and that probably requires even in whatever we might say, we currently have with COVID around, everyone is talking about online training, but I think the value of face-to-face is still very, very relevant in the context of onboarding the rural user to digital platforms. So the e-commerce is one area where I know there are multiple brands who are working in this area, right? The other very interesting reference point is what Airbnb did in Gujarat, where they actually worked with women and created homestay options and onboarded them on their platform so they could sell. So wherein on an average a homemaker made about 30,000 rupees per month, right? Which is a big amount, because a homestay in a village house which is curated by the woman of the house was a big attraction for many of the foreign tourists to come and have immerse into such kind of experience. So there is a lot that's happening, and that's where I'm saying that enablement to empowerment, one need to find where one can have a play, right?
So, Anirban, there's a lot of people who are playing with technology now today. So every brand is looking at somehow integrating the technology in their the activities what they have been in rural India. So yes, now I have certain questions. So can I put those questions together for you?
Sure,
so there is one question which has been asked by Priya is, how successful will be the government initiatives of creating rural models? Similarly, like Amazon and Flipkart types who have been doing it right now.
So I think my view is there is nothing wrong with any model. The challenge always comes in the implementation, right? And I'm sure we have all experienced that many a time, right? So that's where I was coming to the story of that mutual fund scenario, right? Understanding the psyche, right? Understanding the readiness. So we might have the customer experience or service centers, right? But how let me say enabled are these people to offer a standardized delivery is important. And in my view, that cannot be done with just implementing it in one way. For example, during COVID, post office has played a big role in terms of delivering of the support that was offered by the government. Right now, that probably is currently not so closely integrated with this retail model that one is trying to say. So I think it's important to bring in multiple channels, see what is more favorable in certain geography, because there are geopolitical, socio-cultural context in different parts of the country, and then probably help it stabilize. So theoretically, is it possible? Yes. Practically, it will require a lot of effort and a lot of collaborative working across government and non-government agencies. That would be my view.
So finally, just because we're just running out of time now, how is this impact, which is going to be this Reliance and Facebook tying together, how is it going to impact the market?
See, it's a conjecture that everyone is having. Yes. So yes. I assume that if Reliance has got into it, and if we all remember, Facebook was the one which actually brought in a concept of net neutrality, a few years back, which was fiercely debated in the country. And so from a Facebook's let me say intent to be the preferred platform on a screen, this is a great opportunity, I would say. So and so there are chances of let me say getting into the lion's share of this O2O space. But again, in spite of these two big entities coming together, the challenge is to ensure that those who are there as vendors or the sellers, right? Now every seller comes on a platform from his primary channel with the expectation of extra income, right? And that requires customized, if I may use, probably it might sound a little jargonish, but that's what the truth is customized business plan for that person, right? So someone who is in Jharsuguda will have a very different kind of merchandise to work on and focus to play in a hyper local basis someone who is in Hisar, right? So that's what is going to be important for it to be successful. Otherwise, there are platforms that has been on and they succeed in certain states, and certain states they don't. But it's too early to actually predict.
So, Anirban, the new field has been created now. So there is going to be a war in this particular. Do you see there's going to be a war in this particular turf also in coming times?
My view is everyone has announced their presence.
Yes.
But my sense is no one is fully ready with a model that they know is going to be a sure shot. So everything is at a beta stage, as they call in digital context, right? So whosoever can come out of the beta faster is going to get it. Just having the resource muscle may not be enough. It's also about understanding the nuances of the rural or the our urban context. That's important. For example, we just to give you a little perspective here, we spoke about hoarding and the hoarding mentality in the urban context during COVID. Yes. And when we spoke, when in fact I spoke to many of the people that I know who work in the rural context, they probably were less worried because there are certain produces available for people. So if their push comes to shove, they would probably live on that. Wherein urban dweller has no access to anything beyond what he picks up from retail store. So there are differences in their let me say focuses in terms of how they buy, what they buy, buying cycles, and we need to keep that in mind as well.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you, and it was really a very, very insightful discussion. And Anirban, in case people have any questions, I think I'll forward the questions to you, and I think you can answer that. And thank you for being with us. And those who have want to see the other videos also, there are a lot of videos at ruralmarketing.in. You can log in over there subscribe over there, and you can watch the other videos also. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. Thank you and bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank
Thank
you,
you. And
and
bye.
thank you for watching, everyone. And
Thank
have
you.
a safe stay. Stay well. Very soon, many of us are going to be, stepping out. Let's
Yes.
be very clear that we maintain the 1.5 meter society protocol.
Yes.
Thank you.
And before we close, next week we are shortly on next Thursday we are coming with a very interesting area, and we'll be talking about the two-wheeler industry and how it is going to be making how inroads into the rural India post-COVID. So stay tuned. Thank you so much and bye bye.